Let's get back to this. President Trump is now back in New Jersey, back at Bedminster this morning after he was arrested, booked, and released on $200,000 bail in the Georgia election interference case. The former president and 18 co-defendants indicted under the state's RICO laws. Let's bring in Mark Geragos, criminal defense lawyer. Mark, thanks for being with us. You are known for your career of high-profile cases. My first question to you, what do you envision as the defense's strategy here? And how do you even begin to coordinate said strategy when you're talking about 18 co-defendants?
Well, I think it's good morning, and I think it's already taking shape. There's one of the co-defendants, the lawyer Cheesebro, has already, as of yesterday, got, I believe, a October 23rd trial date. He's going to be severed. When you want to separate yourself from one of the co-defendants, you file a motion to sever. One of the ways you can do that is by saying, I'm not waiving my speedy trial rights, which is what he's done. He's got that date for October 23rd. Mark Meadows has already filed what's called a removal motion under the statute, the federal statute. In a situation like this, if you were a federal employee and if you can tell the judge and make a plausible argument that your actions were done in the course and scope of while you were a federal employee, you have the ability to remove your case to federal court. That is another arrow in the quiver, so to speak. The third one, which has not been talked about that much, you have a Republican legislature in Georgia. The legislature passed an act which takes effect in October, which is basically a way for them to have a commission that can remove a prosecutor. So you could have, arguably, ex-President Trump remove the case to federal court and then have the legislature remove Fani Willis as the prosecutor. Yeah. That would not surprise me if that's what ends up happening.
And I think a lot of people, when you hear October 23rd, I mean, I think a lot of people think, okay, dream on. There's no way that that's going to happen that quickly. When do you realistically think these trials will actually start to play out?
Well, with 18, 19 co-defendants, I can see a world where one or two of them might just say, I'm not going to waive my speedy trial rights. I'm going to go forward right now. I know that remember, this investigation has taken place over the course of 2.5 years. For those who were the targets of this investigation, they received a target letter many, many months ago. They know or knew what was happening. If they had counsel who was doing a parallel investigation, and most lawyers do that. You would, while you know your client's on the hot seat, you're investigating the case as well. You may want to say to yourself, part of the kind of contemplation is, maybe the prosecution isn't really ready to put this case forward. I've taken a look at the grand jury transcripts. I don't think that there is as much coherence here as at least what's being ballied about, and I want to go forward right now and put them to the test.
And Mark, I have one last question for you while I still have you. We're running out of time, but there's also been this huge debate, as you know, about whether or not cameras are going to be allowed in that Georgia courtroom, a state which does typically allow them. Obviously, we're not going to see these in the federal cases and trials, but do you think this trial in Georgia should be televised? And if so, how would that inevitable media circus impact this case?
Well, as I often will tell other people, if Depp versus Heard should be televised, then this case clearly should be televised. If you're talking about something that is being bandied about as a threat to democracy, and this was a RICO action involving a former president, I can't think of a case that's more compelling to be televised. And you accurately said that's if it remains in state court. If it gets removed to federal court, it's not even a question. It will not be televised.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who want to hear all the evidence, all the witnesses, see it laid out. And there's some people who think that puts too much pressure on prosecutors, on witnesses too. Mark Geragos, thanks as always for joining us.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.